Hi guys, today I would like to talk a little bit about hitch fishing primarily for salmon. This is a great technique that we focus on in Iceland during the summer months of each year. It's great in the crystal clear small rivers that you get there, and it allows you to fish surface flies for one of the most exciting fish there are in our rivers, and that is the Atlantic salmon. Essentially, hitch fishing is where you take your normal salmon fly, maybe a scaled down version, and you make it float across the surface, creating a skate, and this then entices your salmon to swim up and take the fly. It's a very visual and a very exciting way to fish. So each year I like to head up to Iceland in search of the Atlantic salmon runs, and I love the style of fishing that they do out there. There's a few vital pieces of equipment that we use in Iceland to help us fish the hitch fly. Here are a few of my own favourites. Here I've got a guideline LPXC 10 foot for a 7 weight line. This allows me to have reach when fishing these rivers, because a lot of the time it's about line control. The reason we're using single-handed rods is the rivers aren't generally big. So they require accurate casting, which we can present with a single-handed rod, but by using 10 foot over 9 foot or 9.5 foot allows us to cock the rod, which I will go into in more detail a little bit later on, and that allows us to fish the fly across the surface. Moving on from there, we have our reel. Salmon like to run a long way. They're a strong, powerful fish, and in Iceland, in their short season, you'll mainly encounter fresh fish, sometimes off the tide, covered in sea lice. So what we need to make sure is our reel has a lot of space for backing, then a good quality floating line with quite a heavy forward taper. This is a Rio Grande. It handles very nicely on windy conditions, which can happen in Iceland, and also overheads and double hauls very nicely. Going on from our floating line there is our leader makeup. With a riffle hitch, it's quite a small fly and very light, so we want to present the fly and we want to get our cast straight every cast. So what I tend to do is build my leader using a tapered leader first. This is quite heavy. This is a 20-pound tip. That allows me to turn it over into the wind. But what we want to do there, because the water is often clear, is then add a section of tippet. This is seagar. You can use 19 pounds in heavy water, scaling down to 15 or even 13 pounds in lower water heights. We like to use a variety of flies. Personally, I like to carry different shades, different sizes for many variety of weather conditions, whether it be cloudy, rainy, or the river be high, or sunny and low and clear. So I like to carry everything from larger hitch flies through to medium size and even very small in a range of colours and shapes and sizes. Actually, attaching your hitch fly is very unique. It's not like your traditional tube where you would actually enter the line through the top of the tube and it then feeds out of the back and you attach your hook. This time what we actually do is you can buy commercially flies that are like this, or to do it yourself is you place a needle or sharp point through the side of the hitch fly, creating a hole. This is actually where we're going to place the leader, just behind the material through the throat area. This is because we want the fly to sit at an angle when it skates across the water, half out of the water, half in the water. To then show you how to place this on, what we do, we have the fly here with a hole running through it, and we just place our leader. Always a bit fiddly the first couple of times you do it, but once it's through, you will see that the line feeds in through the side and out through the back. There are a range of hooks that you can use when fishing with a tube fly. A lot of them come with your standard treble, but also doubles are favourable, but increasingly popular now, particularly in rivers that have a lot of weed or leaves, are single hooks as well. To attach this hook, very similar to any other tube fly you may have used. All I do, feed through the line there, throw a loop and tuck that tag end through twice. Once our hook is attached using our 2-turn knot there, we can pull the hook into the reverse side of the tube, make sure it's set there nicely, and our fly is then ready to fish. So now we've looked at the tackle that we use, we've got our fly attached, how do we actually fish it? Personally, I find that once I'm completely set up, I've made my cast generally at about 45 degrees across the current, but different water flows will require slightly different angles of the cast. But once we've placed it there, what we don't want to do is keep the rod flat like we do with most other salmon fishing. What we actually want to do is slightly cock the wrist and cock the rod angle so the tip is raised in the air. What this does is it speeds the fly up across the surface. It lifts the line up and that in turn makes the fly skate across the surface. What you can do on slow pieces is actually induce the speed with a small retrieve, either by using a long steady pull or lots of small tweaks to make the fly bounce across the surface. This can really entice the salmon to come after your fly. These wonderful crystal clear waters, quite often you can see the fish chasing after it. What you must not do is strike. It's the hardest thing to do because when you're trout fishing and you see that fish rise, the first thing you have to do is strike, but with salmon it's a biggest no. So what we need to do is just watch that fish. It's painstaking the amount of time you have to sit there and watch this fish come out through the surface and eat your fly. And then what you're waiting for is the fish to actually turn, swim back towards the other side, and the current will set the hook, and if you've done it right you'll know because the fly will be sat right in the scissor of the fish's jaw. Great, so what we've managed to do is go through the tackle, attach the fly, and now we know how to hook the fish. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is basically to go out to Iceland and try this technique for yourself. If you found this video useful today, what I'd like you to do is like and subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you.